Okay, so let's think about this. What if a chemical you've maybe barely heard of was quietly, protecting our food supply? And not just that, but growing into this global powerhouse market in some really surprising ways. Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing, a deep dive into the global pymetrozine market.
Right.
Now, for anyone new to this pymetrozine, it isn't just like your average bug spray. It's potent, yes, but also remarkably targeted.
That's the key part, the targeted action.
Exactly. What makes it so interesting and really important for modern farming is how it works. It doesn't just wipe out everything. Instead, it specifically messes with the feeding habits of certain pests, the piercing and sucking kind.
Aphids, whiteflies, plant hoppers, those kinds of insects.
Yeah, and these aren't just, annoying. They feed on plant sap, which weakens the plant, but critically, they also transmit these devastating plant viruses.
Viruses that can just decimate fields, vegetables, fruits, staple crops like rice.
Right. So pymetrozine helps stop that spread. And importantly, it tends to do it without harming beneficial insects as much, like bees.
Which makes it really valuable for integrated pest management or IPM strategies. It fits better.
So our mission today is basically to unpack the global picture, look at the growth forecasts for this vital chemical using some pretty precise market research data. Think of it as a shortcut for you to grasp a really crucial and honestly fast-growing trend in global agriculture.
Okay, let's get into it. It's probably more impactful for global food security than most people realize.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, I think, is the consistency of the growth. It's robust pretty much across the board. That signals a fundamental and, growing demand, not just for any pesticide, but for these more targeted, effective solutions. That's what's behind these big market numbers. And those numbers, yeah, they tell a story. Globally, back in 2021, the market was just under $195 million in sales revenue.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2025, the projection is over $245 million. And then by 2033, it's expected to nearly double that 2021 figure, hitting almost $388 million.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is. And the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, it works out to just under 6%, about 5.9%, which isn't just, a blip. It's consistent, significant expansion year after year.
Exactly. That consistency is crucial. It's not some temporary spike. It reflects a real long-term strategic shift in how farmers are dealing with pests. Pests that are persistent and, frankly, always evolving. This strong growth suggests a move towards more precise, maybe more sustainable crop protection.
Okay, so that's the big picture globally. But where is this growth actually happening? Like, what are the regional stories? Let's start with North America. Always a significant market for agricultural chemicals, right?
Definitely. A major player.
So this region, North America, it's projected to nearly double its pymetrozine market by 2033, going from about 56.6 million in 2021 to over 106 million. That's a steady annual growth, CAGR of about 5.3%.
Solid numbers for a mature market.
Within that, the U.S. is, unsurprisingly, the main force, heading towards 86 million in sales by 2033. But what caught my eye was Canada. It seems to be on a faster track, growing significantly quicker. Yeah, the CAGR there is nearly 6.4%. Why do you think Canada might be accelerating like that, maybe compared to the U.S.?
That's a good spot. The U.S. market is bigger overall, sure, but Canada's higher CAGR. It could be a few things, maybe an increase in specific crops that are particularly vulnerable to these pests, or maybe evolving farming practices favoring targeted stuff, or it could even be regulatory changes, maybe new approvals widening its use there.
Interesting possibilities. And Mexico's in the mix too, right? Though maybe a bit more modest growth.
Yes, Mexico contributes as well, growing steadily, but yeah, on a slightly more modest trajectory, around 4.7% CAGR.
Okay, fascinating regional differences there. Let's hop across the Atlantic now to Europe. Europe's market for pymetrozine is also showing pretty strong, consistent growth. It was valued around $47 million in 2021, and it's projected to hit over $87 million by 2033. So a GPR, just over 5.3%. Quite similar to North America, actually.
Okay, steady expansion there too.
Yeah, and you see good growth in key countries. Germany heading towards nearly 17 million, France around 12.2 million, the UK also over 12.2 million by 2033. But Spain seems to be leading the European pack in terms of growth rate. Real momentum there. The CAGR of 6.7%.
Spain, interesting. And Italy and Russia, too.
Yeah, the data suggests Italy and Russia are also showing impressive forward movement.
Right.
And then several smaller European markets, Switzerland, Sweden, Luxembourg, Denmark, they're also seeing consistent gains, between 3.4% and 5.6% annual growth. Pretty solid.
Europe's growth, especially that stronger momentum in places like Spain, Italy, Russia, It kind of highlights how Pymetrozine fits with some of the stricter regulations emerging there. Its targeted action means it's often seen, let's say, more favorably than some older, broader chemicals.
Ah, so it becomes a preferred choice for compliance and maybe sustainable farming goals.
Exactly. That could definitely be part of the story in Europe.
Okay, now, here's where I think it gets really interesting. Asia Pacific.
Ah, yes, the growth engine.
Totally. This region is leading the world in Pymetrozine market expansion. The highest KGR globally, a remarkable 6.5%.
That's significant.
The market was about 63.5 million in 2021, and it's set to more than double over 135 million by 2033. China's the biggest player in the region, projected to hit nearly 40 million by 2033.
Makes sense, given the scale of agriculture there.
But the real standout, I mean, the most impressive KGR globally is India, over 8.1%.
Wow, 8.1%. That's huge.
It really is. India's expansion is, well, quite striking, going from just over 11 million in 2021 to projected over 28 million by 2033. What's driving that kind of explosive growth specifically in India, do you think?
Well, that staggering growth, it isn't just a number, right? It likely reflects a massive push for food security. Urgently needed, combined with, the increasing problems with highly resistant pests and just evolving farming methods. Pymetrozine works well against key pests that hit India's staple crops, rice, cotton, lots of vegetables. So it becomes, well, almost indispensable for farmers there.
So it's about protecting essential harvest for a huge growing population.
Pretty much. And beyond India, you've got significant contributions too. Japan, South Korea, Australia. Australia's projected over 10.6 million by 2033. And you also mentioned strong CAGRs, over 6% in places like Singapore, Taiwan, other Southeast Asian markets. It all points to really intense agricultural development and big pest challenges across the region.
Asia Pacific is clearly the powerhouse. It really demonstrates that urgent need for effective crop protection in these rapidly developing agricultural economies. Does that set a pattern for other developing regions?
Yeah.
Let's look South America.
Okay.
This market is also expanding nicely. From 14 million in 2021 to over 29 million projected by 2033. That's a robust TGR2, 6.2%.
Still very strong growth.
Brazil is the key market there,
Yeah.
expected to lead with sales over 12 million by 2033. And Argentina, Colombia, Peru, they're also showing KBRs over 6%. Seems like significant agricultural intensification happening there too.
Indeed. South America, with its huge agricultural lands, big focus on exports like soybeans, corn, they face immense pest pressure. So that consistent growth suggests Pymetrozine is becoming a really critical part of their strategy to keep yields up and meet global demand.
Okay, now for a region that maybe surprised me a bit as a high performer, the Middle East.
Ah, yes. The numbers there are quite high, growth-wise.
Yeah, the market is expected to reach nearly $15 million by 2033, up from about 6.2 million in 2021. And the CAGR is exceptionally high, 7.4%.
That's higher than Asia-Pacific overall.
It is. Saudi Arabia leads the region, heading for over 4.3 million by 2033, with a strong 7.6% CAGR. But honestly, what seems truly astonishing is the UAE's growth rate.
The UAE.
Yeah, it's top in the global charts with an incredible 7.9% CAGR, expanding from just 1.2 million in 2021 to over 3.1 million by 2033. What could be driving that? I mean, the UAE isn't typically known for vast traditional agriculture. Is it maybe specific developments or policies?
That's an excellent question. It really highlights some unique dynamics. The UAE's phenomenal growth, despite limited, traditional farmland, it strongly suggests big investment in high-tech agriculture. Things like indoor farming, advanced greenhouses, precision agriculture maybe.
Controlled environments.
Exactly. And in those settings, protecting high-value crops from even small pest outbreaks is absolutely critical. So a targeted solution like Pymetrozine becomes incredibly valuable. It probably also points to a big focus on local food production, food security initiatives, especially in a challenging climate.
That makes a lot of sense. And other countries in the region are growing fast too.
Yes. Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, the rest of the Middle East, they're also posting KGs above 7%. It indicates a broader regional push on agricultural development and efficiency.
Okay, and finally, let's touch on Africa. Africa shows a strong increase as well. From about 7.2 million in 2021 to over 15.5 million projected by 2033. It's a 6.4% CAGR.
Also very healthy growth.
South Africa seems to be a front-runner there. Sales expected around 6.2 million by 2033. And Nigeria is right there too, maybe even slightly ahead at 6.8 million projected.
Interesting. Nigeria potentially edging out South Africa there.
Yeah. And the rest of Africa is also showing steady gains, with KGRs generally over 6%.
Africa's growth, especially in places like South Africa and Nigeria, it really signals, I think, a rising awareness and adoption of modern farming inputs to boost productivity. As populations grow, as farming practices evolve, these targeted solutions like pymetrozine become pretty essential for maximizing yields and ensuring local food supplies.
So we've gone around the globe, seen these numbers, these pretty incredible growth paths everywhere. But let's bring it back. What does all this mean for you, our listener, and kind of the bigger picture of global food?
Right, connecting the dots. If we look at the broader context, it really highlights this constant growing demand for effective solutions. We live in a world grappling with increasing food needs, right? So this strong global growth in pymetrozine, it's not random. It's driven by some clear factors. First, just rising agricultural needs, more people, pressure to produce more food, often on less
The
land.
fundamental pressure.
Exactly. Second, pest control regulations are evolving everywhere. They increasingly favor more targeted, maybe more environmentally conscious solutions. Pymetrozine fits that mold better than some older, broader chemicals.
So regulations are actually helping drive its adoption.
In many cases, yes. And third, there's continuous innovation in how insecticides like pymetrozine are formulated, making them even more effective, easier to use, which boosts adoption. So understanding these market trends, it's really crucial to grasp how this seemingly niche chemical connects directly to global food production, agricultural sustainability, and that ongoing complex fight against crop-damaging pests.
Okay, so to sum it up quickly, the pymetrozine market is seeing really significant widespread growth pretty much everywhere. Asia Pacific and the Middle East are kind of leading the charge in growth rate, reflecting maybe intense agricultural development and some innovative farming practices.
Exactly. Which leads to a final thought, perhaps. Given how vital pymetrozine is for crop protection and seeing this projected growth, what challenges, but also what opportunities might emerge as we try to balance agricultural productivity with environmental stewardship, especially when different regions show such varied growth speeds and have really unique farming needs. That's something interesting to consider. Ever wondered what really goes into keeping our food safe, high quality, and, well, plentiful? It's a huge undertaking, and often the most crucial players are kind of hidden behind the scenes. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of those maybe unsung heroes, the pymetrozine market. Think of pymetrozine as, I don't know, a high wire performer balancing the intense demands of modern food production with the tightening ropes of regulation and the constant evolution of agricultural pests. Our mission today is really to unpack the evolving dynamics of this essential agricultural tool, and we've been sifting through some pretty fascinating market research to extract the most important and sometimes surprising insights for you. Okay, so let's unpack this. What exactly is driving this unexpected boom for pymetrozine? What are the key forces propelling its market forward? What really struck me when looking at this research was just how much pressure farmers are under to deliver, flawless produce. One of the major growth catalysts is this increasing demand for high-quality crops. Farmers are really shifting their focus toward cultivating premium, healthy, and sustainable produce. That's to meet ever-evolving consumer expectations and, yeah, tighter safety standards, too. Pymetrozine is critical here because it specifically safeguards crops from certain sap-feeding pests like aphids and whiteflies. These tiny invaders might seem small, but they can devastate a harvest, directly impacting that desired quality and yield.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's less about simple pest control and more about a strategic edge for growers. They're emphasizing exceptional produce just to remain competitive in these, global agricultural landscapes. And pymetrozine becomes pretty indispensable for achieving that pristine, market-ready quality.
Right. And it's not just about quality, is it? Sounds like the pests themselves are getting, well, tougher.
Oh, absolutely. The second significant driver is the rise in pest infestations and crop damage. And this isn't just about more pests. It's about smarter, more resilient pests, often made worse by unpredictable climate patterns, shifting ecosystems, and just global agricultural intensification generally. What's interesting here is how these escalating pest pressures sort of force farmers to adopt more targeted solutions. Pymetrozine is a go-to choice because of its selective targeting, meaning it primarily affects specific pests without harming beneficial insects like pollinators.
Oh.
Its low phytotoxicity, which simply means it's gentle on the plants themselves, and its compatibility with integrated pest management programs. That modern approach that combines various methods for sustainable pest control. This really reinforces the urgency for powerful yet crop-safe products as outbreaks become more frequent and intense.
So it's not just about spraying more, but spraying smarter, and Pymetrozine fits that smarter approach specifically.
Exactly, yeah. It's about precision and efficiency in a world where, let's face it, every harvest is under threat.
But even with such strong tailwinds, Pymetrozine isn't exactly sailing smoothly. What's the biggest obstacle it's facing?
This raises an important question. The most prominent restraint is definitely the stringency of global regulations. Chemical pesticides, and that includes pymetrozine, are under growing scrutiny due to environmental and, well, health implications.
Yeah.
Agencies like the EPA in the U.S., that's the Environmental Protection Agency, and ECHA in Europe, the European Chemicals Agency, they enforce these really complex, costly, and time-consuming approval processes. These include extensive toxicological evaluations, ecological impact studies, and post-approval monitoring, too.
Wow. So what does all this mean for the companies actually in the Pymetrozine market? Does it make them hesitate to invest?
It absolutely does. The concern over non-target impacts, especially on pollinators like bees and aquatic species, leads to even more rigorous controls, particularly in regions with, let's say, progressive environmental policies like the European Union. The insight here isn't just that regulations are tough, it's that they're forcing a pretty dramatic reevaluation of R&D budgets, you know. These dynamics make product registration and reapproval incredibly difficult and financially burdensome. It causes companies to hesitate about further investments, and that ultimately slows market growth. The implication here is quite profound. It's not just about meeting current rules, it's about whether companies can even justify developing new chemical solutions, potentially leaving farmers with fewer options down the line.
Right, that makes sense. Looking forward then, it's clear Pymetrozine won't just stay put. What emerging trends are already reshaping its path?
Well, what's fascinating here is the rising interest in sustainability and innovation. It's quite strong. This trend is triggering research into hybrid pest control models, maybe even integrating pymetrozine with some organic practices. There's a growing emphasis on improving environmental profiles, increasing efficacy, and minimizing ecological side effects. It's all about aligning the product with the global green agriculture movement. It's a delicate balance, really.
That's interesting, and it sounds like technology is playing a crucial role, too.
Indeed. Yeah, the industry is witnessing a significant technological push in product formulation and delivery systems. We're seeing specific examples like microcapsulation, where the active ingredient is encased in these tiny protective spheres, and
Ah.
slow-release granules. These kinds of innovations allow the product to work more efficiently and last longer, potentially with less environmental impact. Also, digital agriculture tools are allowing farmers to apply the product much more precisely, minimizing waste and maximizing returns. It's all about smart farming.
So we've taken a deep dive into how this Pymetrozine market is being shaped by, well, a complex combination of things. Robust demand for high-quality agriculture, increasing pest resistance, tightening regulations, and ongoing innovation in both chemistry and sustainability. It really is a high-wire act for this critical agricultural tool.
Absolutely. And the broader implication here is that pymetrozine's role in modern pest management is just getting more complex, but actually also more essential as our food systems continue to evolve.
So what stands out to you about how a single agricultural product navigates such a complex global landscape? How do you think these forces will shape the future of our food system? And maybe what other hidden essential components might be just as important for us to understand?